the back of the room. My guest today is a father, husband, a Marine, and a stand-up comedian. From Cape Girardeau, Missouri, it's Eric Rueseler, everybody.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I'm only
thanks for being here.
good at one of those things, though, so I'll let you guess.
You know, we'll keep everybody guessing, but I'm sure you're decent at most of them.
Yeah. I think I got a solid C average across the board.
Okay, that's
I'd be
good.
okay with that. I mean, I just went home for 47 hours, I think.
Okay.
Just enough time to say hi to the kids and maybe make love to the missus once. And then, all right, I'll see you guys Sunday. Bye.
Well, you're using your time wisely, it sounds like. You got a lot in.
Yeah, well, I gather the children. I'm like, come, children, listen to news from the city. And they're like, oh, Father, what tales do you have to tell? And I was like, well, I saw a car powered up entirely on electricity. They're like, no. Yeah.
Nice, man. Well, I know you're from Cape. What's going on down there? Did you grow up in Cape? Always been from there?
Yeah. I was born in Cape. Just grew up there. I there my entire life until I turned 20. And then right after my 20th birthday, I left for boot camp. And then I lived in California for like 6 straight years. And I always swore, I was like, I'm never coming back. I'm never going back to Missouri. Never, ever, ever. And then I married a girl from that area. And she was like, yeah, we're going back. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And I spend most of my time trying to escape yet again. So
Cape Girardeau is not a bad town. Like, my brother went to school there, so I know a little bit about it. Is it weird that it's a college town, or was it weird as a kid, like, being in the college town at all?
not really, because the college is downtown.
Yeah.
And people that live there, like, don't ever go downtown. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's pretty spread out, I guess. Like,
you go down for special occasions or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's a town of 36,000 people or something like that. But most of, like, the residential area is further back from the river. So it's like all the college kids are down there, and unless you're a college kid or someone trying to go get drunk at the bars, you don't really go down there. Like, there's not anything
Yeah, I
to
get
do.
that.
Yeah, you were like, you said Cape Girardeau is a nice town. It's like, yeah, if you enjoy not being able to get food after 7:30, you know, if you really enjoy doing a lap around the entire town in like 20 minutes, then yeah, it's a great place to grow up, you know?
Yeah, I'm in St. Charles now, and it's kind of the same thing. They got Lindenwood, so there's technically a college there. I think they're D1 now, but it's like, it's kind of its own thing too. And then there's college, and there's like Main Street where everybody goes to get
But
drunk.
you're so close to the city that it's like, that would be nice. I would enjoy a small town feel 20 minutes from a big metropolis. You know what I mean? As opposed to what I have, which is like a tiny little area with absolutely nothing to do. Like, if you think fine Italian dining is Olive Garden, then Cape Girardeau might be the best.
I do, actually. So I'm from a town of 160 people. So
Oh, that's right.
that is,
I forgot about that.
yeah, that was up there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they were special. I remember, well, when we were kids, like, the big deal was to come to St. Louis. If my parents were like, hey, this weekend we're going to go to St. Louis, you'd be like, what? Oh my gosh. Like, I gotta, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? We could see anybody. We might run into Mark McGuire, you know? It's like, we thought about St. Louis the way people think about, like, Hollywood. We're like, maybe we'll bump into Brad Pitt, except they were all just like very mid-level celebrities, you know, where you're like, maybe we'll get to see Ted Drewes. Whoa, you know.
I saw the Carroll House furniture guy out at a bar the other night, And I was just like, oh, I think that's that guy from those commercials. And Molly was like, why didn't you say something? We could have like said hi. I'm like, why would we say hi? Like, I don't give a shit. I was like, I think that might be the guy from the Carroll House Furniture commercials. She was like, oh, man, how did you not say anything to me?
We could have gotten a chase lounge,
Yeah.
Jimmy. Come on.
He's probably just doling out love seats, but who knows?
Yeah,
But,
anytime somebody comes up to him in a public place, he's just like, you get an ottoman and you get an ottoman.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah.
yeah, I mean, Cape's cool. Like, from being from a small town like that, we came to St. Louis every now and then for a baseball game or whatever, but we didn't travel a lot either. So, like Troy was a big town. Like, it was in Lincoln County. That's the biggest town in Lincoln County. So, Pizza Hut and, Walmart, that kind of stuff was a big deal.
Pizza Hut, yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, in the 90s when we grew up, Pizza Hut was a big deal.
Yeah.
Like
it was top of the line, I think.
If you go, Pizza Hut now is a sad shell of what it used to be, but all empires rise and fall.
Yeah.
But lunch buffet and did you do the Book It program?
Oh yeah. Did
what
the
were your
little
thoughts on the book? I personally was never a huge fan.
I'm not a big reader. I'm not a big fan of reading, but I like the pizza. It was enough incentive to read it, I guess, but I couldn't remember the whole. What was the deal? You had to.
If you read like 4 books, you would they gave you like a little pin that you could put on your shirt, and once you read, every time you read a book, they'd give you a sticker to fill in these little gaps.
That's right.
And then every time you took that pin in, you would get a free personal pan pizza. And I remember I read 4 really small books, and it took me 30 minutes, and I got a really small pizza. And I was like, oh, cool. I bet if I read a big book, I get a big pizza. So I read all 3 Lord of the Rings.
Oh, shit.
And took my badge in. I was so excited. It took me like 3 months,
Yeah.
I took it in, and still the same personal pan. And I was like, well, this is rigged. This is a scam. And it was the first time in my life I was ever just like, this isn't worth it. Okay. All right. This is what I get for learning? No, thank you.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Those are long books. Like, I started reading one, and then, like, the movies started coming out. I'm like, fuck this. I'm just going to see the movie.
Especially because it'll switch and be like, and now we're going to speak in Elvish.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, cool. These aren't words. So.
Yeah. Shout out to Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
I got an idea for you. It's a town-based idea. Not sure if it's great, but you can have it if you want it. You're from Cape Girardeau. Have you ever thought of wearing a cape on stage?
I should. I actually would. I am instantly on board.
Yeah.
I would love to just go up with it like draped over my shoulders, and then as you grab the microphone, a dramatic flare, and then with every punchline you could whip the cape, you know. It's a pretty, I don't know, I think the cape is
it's a statement.
It's definitely a statement.
Yeah.
It is an emotional piece of clothing. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be that dramatic in jeans, like what we're wearing now. Like, this has a hood, which I actually didn't know until today, because every time I've looked at it, the hood's always been like tucked under. And I'm like, oh, it's just a normal long sleeve shirt. And then I was like, why does it feel weird? And on the drive up, I pulled it out and I was like, oh, it's got a hood on it. But still, you can't be dramatic. I couldn't tell a punchline and then just like cowl up like Batman, which would be.
Yeah, I mean, everybody
fantastic.
needs their thing. You could even go further. You could wear a mask, go as the cape, as your stage name.
The cape.
Yeah.
You know what's weird is that, like, so a cape is a geological formation, like a peninsula, an isthmus or whatever. A cape is like something that juts out into a body of water and then creates like its own, I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know if I knew that, but that's good to know.
I didn't know that either, because about 150 years ago, they blew up the Cape. Like, the section of the river that, like, the section of land that juts out in the river that makes Cape Girardeau a cape, they took it away.
Why?
So now it's not. It's just a town named Cape Girardeau. But it's like...
Was there a purpose for blowing it up?
I think I have no idea. I have no idea why they do it. But it wasn't until wasn't until I was in my 20s that when I told someone, I was like, "Oh, I'm from Cape Girardeau," and they're like, "Oh, so is it like do you guys like hang out at the Cape or whatever?" And I was like, "What? What is that?" And
I mean, a Cape would probably be dope if you actually had one. If there was one there, it sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, I think it would be like a, I don't know, like a tourist attraction type thing. I don't know. I mean,
shouldn't blow up capes.
Again,
it doesn't sound like a good idea.
Never seen a cape.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, just an idea. You can wear the cape. You could sell capes after the show.
I would love to.
Instead of T-shirts, you never know. You could fight crime on the side.
Well, you know what's great about capes is they're typically one size fits all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like with T-shirts, it's like I got to have 12 smalls and 14 larges and whatever. A cape's if you're 9 or 37.
Yeah, you're good.
Cape.
It doesn't matter if it's coming down to your ass or your knees. It's fine. You can have a different size capes
right.
or for different. You know,
a cape is as long as you want it to be.
It doesn't.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't really matter.
It's not like pants where if they like stop short, it's like, oh, those pants don't fit. No, the cape fits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I like that idea.
The Cape, everybody, coming to a city near you. Know you a little bit. Want to throw a few other things out there. Got a quick segment. It's called That's My Favorite, just to get to know you a little better. Favorite sandwich?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think I'd rather pick a favorite kid.
That was my next question.
Yeah, I thought it might be. The whole way up, I was just weighing them. I'm like, well, my daughter is really smart, but my son is funny.
You can pick one if you want. They're not going to listen. So.
They know who they are.
Yeah.
Now, favorite sandwich. Well, Gramophone is a restaurant in here in St. Louis.
Very good.
Definitely my favorite sandwich shop.
Okay.
Or sandwich place. But favorite sandwich. Oh.
It's a big, broad question.
It is. I gotta go. I think there's something about like a BLT
Okay.
that when it's good, it's just really good. But I don't. Yeah. I feel like that's the problem with sandwiches, though. It's so hard because it's like you get bad bread, you get a soggy tomato, the lettuce is a little like the bacon can be, you know what I mean? So
I waited 30 minutes the other day at Jersey Mike's for a regular 9-inch or whatever sandwich, and I'm never going back.
Yeah.
I'm like, it was okay. I'm not waiting half an hour. There was like one dude in front of me, too. He waited forever, and there was like 10 people working. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So, fuck Jersey Mike's.
Yeah.
At least that location. I don't know.
I've never been I don't know if I've ever even been to a Jersey Mike's.
It's all right, but I'm not waiting that long.
You know which one I don't like? Jimmy John's.
I don't like Jimmy John's either. The weird, like, lettucey, what is that?
Yeah. And I want an option for a hot sandwich.
Yeah.
And so people are going to be like, oh, well, you could just heat it up once you get home. I've done that. I have a panini press. I got a Jimmy John's, brought it home, toasted it. The bread, when it gets warm, it gets like sharp.
Like crusty kind of?
It gets toasted, like most breads do. But then when you bite into it, it like breaks and becomes like sharp. Like it stabbed my mouth. Like even my son took a bite, was like, why did it hurt me? And I'm like, I don't trust it.
I'm not a big Jimmy John's fan either.
No. Jimmy,
okay.
Jersey.
Yeah.
Mike and Jimmy, maybe they
guys
need
are
to get
fucking up.
and
all right.
do you remember Quiznos?
Yeah.
I loved a good Quiznos.
That was good. They had like beef. What was their signature? Beef cheddar. With the white sauce stuff on it. That was good.
Oh, that was good. I love a good. It's such a great idea. Like that little conveyor belt.
Yeah.
You just throw the sandwich together, slide it through. Takes 15 seconds to make a sandwich. I don't know.
I'd be totally fine if all the Jimmy John's and Jersey Mike's went out of business and they put Quiznos in those locations.
I'm just worried that Subway would then fill those gaps.
Subway sucks too, man.
Yeah, I'm not a Subway person.
Like when it was $5, it was fine, but now it's like $14 and it's not good.
No. What are the odds that they picked 2 pedophiles as spokespeople, 2 in a row? Like you gotta be like,
Who was the second one?
The second one, there was some internet guy who was like a streamer. I don't remember his name. Doctor something. It was
Doctor Pedophile.
Yeah, but
like you should have known.
Should have known. Like he put it right out there.
Yeah.
It came out that he was like he would go on like Twitch or something like that, and they caught him sending like inappropriate messages to kids that he knew was underage.
Damn.
They'd be like, well, I'm only 14, and he'd be like, well, that's okay, blah, 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 you know. And you gotta imagine I like to think like in the Subway Corporation room, they just come in and they're just like, guys, what are we we not gonna check into anybody? Like,
it's happening again.
What is it about Subway that just attracts pedophiles?
I don't know.
Maybe it's they want eat fresh. They're just like, oh, it's my sexual preferences, might as well be my no. All right, that got dark. Wait, clap.
We'll move on. Favorite sport?
Man, I gotta say, well, I played football.
Okay.
I still do love football. College football in particular. I just get so excited. Even if it's not a team that I care about, just watching, like, it just feels
like a good game, no matter who's playing, is like fun to watch.
Exactly. But then once we lost the Rams, I was like, oh, I'm gonna boycott football for a while, which actually kind of backfired because that was around the same time as like everybody started kneeling for the national anthem. So then it looked like I was boycotting because of that, and I was like, no, I'm mad that the Rams left.
Yeah.
And then I was like, now I look like I'm doing it for the wrong reason. But so I got into hockey, which I still don't understand the rules, but going to a hockey game is one of the most fun sporting events.
Yeah.
I think it's so much fun.
Yeah, I was never really that big into hockey just because my dad didn't watch it a lot, but like going to a game is awesome. Like hockey and a few other things, like seeing it in person is just night and day from seeing it on TV. Because like hockey on TV is okay, but like following the puck and just the action and stuff is so much harder to do like on TV, and you just don't get the like feel.
I think that one of the hardest things in the world to do is to go to a hockey game and not drink. Which is going to sound, I mean, I know how that sounds, but like I can sit through a baseball game and just have water or, a soda or something like that. I can sit through a football game and, you don't feel the urge to drink, like it's available, but you're like, I could take it or leave it. Hockey is like, no, I'm missing out. Like everybody there is there to party, and it's so much fun. I love hockey games now. Yeah,
hockey's cool. Like it's that in person, and I don't know if you ever been to like drag racing, like Top Fuel dragsters.
Not on like anything professional.
Okay.
Like I've been to a couple, like, again, I'm from Cape, so there was a couple good old boys. They're like, my truck's faster than your truck. Meet me at the diversion channel. We're gonna write, and I've done that, and that was kind of fun. But no, I've never been to a professional.
Well, there's like Top Fuel dragsters. It's just like, rails pretty much. It's tiny wheels in the front, huge ones in the back, huge motor. And they just go a quarter mile in like 3 seconds. And you watch it on TV and it's just like, burn, and it's over. But if you see it in person, it's so loud and just like violent. It's fucking awesome. It's just like rips through you like the sound and shit. And you're just like, holy shit.
Well, what's weird is that, so you always hear about guys like, are you a car guy?
Yeah.
So like I never understood it, and I always had car guys explain to me like, no, girls love it, like a big powerful motor, blah blah blah. And I was like, I don't think they do. I always was skeptical of it. But the other night I was in downtown, I was in Ballpark Village, and someone was like revving their engine, and this girl was sitting there, and she's like, "Oh, you're so cool," just being sarcastic. And then he peeled out. And the engine was like reverberating off of the buildings, and it was really, really loud. And she goes, all right, that was pretty cool. Like that. And I was like, oh, they do like it. Okay. I always just thought that was a guy thing. I just always thought it was guys. I was like, no, girls like this. Girls like it too. And it's like,
Depends on the driver too. Like I had a pretty cool car in high school, and I didn't
what'd you
do that great.
What car did you have?
It was a '68 Torino.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then I sold that, and I got an old car now. But
Everything I know about the Torino is from that Clint Eastwood.
yeah.
So I said, oh, nice, just because I can remember what
Clint
it looks
Eastwood.
like, but I couldn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
I'm also I'm dyslexic, and so numbers it's just like, I don't even pay attention to them, and that was part of it when I was like, should I get into cars? And people are like, this has 557 horsepower and 17 torque, and I was like, yeah.
There's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, cubic inch displacement on the engines and liters on the newer ones, and you got a lot of different numbers and torque and horsepower and all kinds of stuff. But yeah. All right. Do you have a favorite concert you've ever been to?
I've only been to like maybe 3 or 4 concerts my entire life.
Okay.
I'm not typically a concert person, but I did go with Ronaldo Mercado and 2 other comics from Kansas City. Ronaldo called me one time and he was like, hey, do you want to go to see El Monstero with me? And I had no idea who that was.
I've seen him.
And I was like, sure, cool. Sounds like fun. Because I'm always down to hang out, even if it's like not my thing. It's like, oh, this will be fun. You know, Ronaldo's a cool guy. I like these other comics. They're cool. And we go, and I had no idea who they were or what they did, but it starts. And as soon as it starts, the lights go down, and out from like behind us, this door opens, and these 3 guys walk out in Nazi uniforms, right? And I was like, oh, that's weird. And everybody just starts going crazy. And Ronaldo turns around and he's like, that dude's awesome. And I was like, okay. And I like
I'm missing out on something here.
Yeah. I was looking at the other comics. I'm like, so are you guys a fan of this band? Or like, are there normally this many Nazis? Or like, what's going on? And it wasn't until they got on stage and they started playing music. And I was like, oh, this is Pink Floyd. And they were like, yeah, it's a Pink Floyd cover band. I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. I didn't realize it, but
yeah, they could have told you that going in. I guess.
Yeah. I was like,
was the Nazi thing for that certain song, or
it was for the like Brick in the Wall? And,
okay, yeah,
like it because they kind of like they pick a couple songs from like a couple different albums, and it's like they were kind of like Nazis, but like as the song goes on, they would like take off the jacket, and then it would like change the appearance, you know, and they'd slowly change into like more
not
get away
Nazis.
from that, yeah. And they weren't real, not obviously real Nazi, but it was you're like, okay, it's easy to tell. The thing that got me was at intermission. We went outside, and the band was out. That like some of the band members came out to smoke on the patio, but they were still kind of dressed like Nazis. And there were people like driving by, and you could see them like turning, and I was like, hey, just go inside. Like, without context, nobody knows what we're doing here. This just looks like some weird white supremacy meeting. You know what I mean? Like, you guys smoke in the green room, or like put on a cape. A cape would have solved a lot of problems.
That would have helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them too one time, and they were good. But they did like, I don't know if they did it on yours, but they had like that fake bonfire thing where they did "Wish You Were Here."
Oh yeah.
I don't. Maybe they probably do different songs on each concert or something, but it was pretty cool.
When they did play "Wish You Were Here," and they had giant screens like all around the stage, and they were all, you know, crazy visuals and stuff like that. But they were playing "Wish You Were Here," and like everybody's just kind of like, it's a very emotional song. And I looked, and there was this lady standing. She was like a couple feet in front of us, and she was older, probably late 60s, early 70s, and she was holding this picture of her husband, or at least I assumed it was, you know, and just rocking back and forth, and she was singing at the top of her lungs, and it was like, it really like touched me, and I started to get like real emotional. I'm like, oh, he probably died, and she's, you know, I wish you were here, and like, that's so cool. And I was just like, I was about to cry, and this dude bumped into me, and he held up his phone and he was recording the concert, and that pissed me off because I was like, you should just be in the moment and you're ruining this. And I was just having it, and I just like got angry. And then he stops recording and locks his phone, and the background to his screensaver or whatever, it was a picture of Snoop Dogg holding Martha Stewart in like a loving embrace. And it's just the fact that I went from like crying to angry to then seeing that, and I just lost it. I could not stop laughing. I was like doubled over. I was like the back of my head hurt. I was laughing so hard. And Ronaldo and the other comics are like just staring at me like, what? Why are you what's so funny? And I couldn't get it out. Like I couldn't. I just started.
It'd be hard to explain that.
Yeah,
like,
I just
what
started yelling. I was like, Snoop Dogg, Martha Stewart, like that. And there's a concert going on, so they can't hear. They're like, what are you saying? And I was like, his phone is Snoop Dogg. Like I just. Oh yeah, so that is by far the best concert I've ever been to.
Nice. Do you have a favorite sitcom?
Oh man, I think, and this is just because I caught an episode of it last night. Probably Modern Family.
Okay.
Yeah, I walked into my daughter's room because I thought I heard the intro song, and I was like, "Are you watching Modern Family?" And she's like, "Yes." And like. I could tell she was like, am I about to get in trouble? And I was like, I love this show. And I forgot there's so many great episodes that I forget like how much I love it. I would say that or Scrubs.
Okay.
Maybe. I always loved a comedy, like a sitcom that wasn't scared to be a little serious or like have some episodes that are kind of sad, And I was like, I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't a big Scrubs fan, but I've seen some Modern Family, and it seems good. I haven't seen all of them or whatever, but you've seen it a lot probably. What's the deal with Sofia Vergara and the old guy? I mean, Ed. What's his name?
O'Neill.
Ed O'Neill.
Yeah.
Is it just like? Do they address it? Is she like a gold digger, or like why is she with?
That's
him?
That's like one of the main plots for the first season. Is like, so. Ed O'Neill and Sofia Vergara. Ed O'Neill is the dad. All right. He's the grandfather. He has 2 kids, Claire, who has one family, and then Mitchell, who has another family. Mitchell's gay and has an adopted daughter. Claire has a husband and 3 kids. And so Sofia Vergara is his second wife. Kind of like his, and like there's like a big part of the first season where they're trying to figure like, is she a gold digger or does she really love him or whatever? And then you find out like, oh no, she really loves him, and it is like it's just, I don't, it's so different than what you would think. Cause you watch it and you're like, oh, okay. He's either a creepy old man that divorced his wife and got a second wife, trophy wife or whatever. Or she's a gold digger just coming after his money or whatever, and then you realize like, oh no, they actually like fit well together as a couple.
I'm sure that can happen too. I was just like, I haven't seen it a lot, so I was like, this seems like a bit of a weird match.
That was one of the that was one of the main things like when I first started watching it, because I was expecting it to be like, oh, okay, here's the stereotypical old man with the hot wife or whatever, and then it went away from the stereotypes, which is what I like about it.
We'll have to check it out. Modern Family. All right, that segment was called That's My Favorite. We'll be right back with more Eric Rueseler, everybody. All right, we're back. Sitting here with Eric Rueseler. Going to get into some comedy questions now. We already talked about your new persona of the cape.
Yep.
You're going to bust that out.
Can't wait to use that.
I don't know where you're going to find a cape, but once you do, you can,
Well, luckily, it is the end of September, so Spirit Halloween
that's true.
They're going to be popping up like dandelions soon. Pretty excited.
You might want to spring for a nice one, though. Get some, go to a tailor.
Oh, so you're thinking, are you thinking like a Siegfried and Roy kind of Elvis sequinedy?
You can make it your own, man.
Okay.
I mean,
I guess I was man, I was really underthinking this. I was just thinking like a sleek black.
I was thinking that kind of too. Like,
Okay.
could double as a crime fighter if you want, but, make it your own. Maybe you could have a few different capes.
Well, what do you think made Elvis go down that road?
Probably that dickhead manager. Like, I didn't know.
That's a good point.
Yeah. He's like, what if you... I can't do his voice, but I didn't know all that shit until I saw the movie or whatever.
Uh-huh.
The Tom Hanks guy. And, God, what a piece of shit.
The funniest part of that movie to me was that they had, in the very beginning, the whole reason they explained why Elvis is a star is just because he went to black church one time.
Yeah.
And there was like a black lady touched him and he just got rhythm. And they were like, and that's why he's a star.
Yeah.
It's like all you have to do is go to black church once and you will be a musician.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it probably was that manager. Because when you look at the bit like young Elvis, it's just like, I don't know, a leather jacket and like jeans or black jeans or whatever. And by the end, it's like karate jumpsuit, sparkly sequins or whatever. And it's just like, why? Imagine if a comedian did that. Like what?
I mean, that could be you.
That's true.
With the cape. No, that would be a pretty big
That's
jump.
a pretty big jump. Yeah. The first time he walked out of the dressing room, though, you got to imagine somebody was like, so this is...
Okay. This is new.
This is new. Hey, Mr. the King, can I just real quick... why? I don't know. What if we put a sequin tiger on the back, though? Well, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. Fuck that dude, whatever his name was. The captain or the...
Yeah, the captain or the colonel.
Colonel, yeah.
Which is so funny because he was never in the military.
Yeah.
He just was like, I want people to call me the colonel now.
What a dick.
That's such a bold... It's like, it would be like, if I wanted to be like, hey, I want everybody to start calling me chef. If that would be, yeah, just please refer to me as chef. Thank you.
Yes, chef.
Yeah. We did that. Actually, we used to do that in the military is we would call each other doctor. We would just walk by, doctor. And you'd be surprised. It does make you feel important. You know, like if I had a question or something, I'd be like, doctor, can I get your opinion on something? And they'd come over and, well, I'm not sure. Doctor, what are your opinion? What do you think? And he's like, well, I don't know, doctor. That's a good question. You know, and then after a while, you're like, yeah, maybe, I feel good.
Maybe I could be a doctor. Thank you for your service, by the way.
No.
Gonna get into some comedy questions. Did you start doing comedy in Cape?
No, I started up here actually.
Okay.
The first ever open mic I went to was at Apotheosis Comics, and which was on Grand. I think they've moved locations now, but they might still be on Grand.
I think so, yeah.
But it was myself, Rich Braun, John Maddie, and JC Sabala. And those were the only people in the building, and my wife, but she didn't sign up. And I was like, I got to do it. If I don't do it today, I'll never do it, and I'll just keep putting it off. So I drove up from Cape, did 3.5 minutes maybe, and then left and drove back home. And I was like, well, this is my new addiction, I guess. And then 2 days later, I came to the Funny Bone and signed, here. Yeah. That's where I met Ronaldo and
nice
everybody, and I bombed my ass off.
Here or at Apotheosis?
Well, both.
Because probably not much of a crowd at Apotheosis.
Here was so bad. No, there was no crowd.
Okay.
The only people in the building were those
okay.
comics. Yeah. And but then I came here and I was like, oh, there's people here. Okay, let's try it. And I did some jokes and no one laughed, and I drove 2 hours home and like cried the entire way. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm so stupid. Why do I want to do this? And it was oh man, it was so rough. But there you go.
There you go. What made you want to try it? It was just kind of that impulse thing of like, I wanted to check it out. And
I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to do stand up, but I was too scared to do it. but I bounced around from so many different jobs, and nothing. I've never cared about anything really the way I care about stand up, and I talked to my wife about it, and I was like, nothing else is gonna get 100% of my attention. Like, I was selling cars, I was selling insurance, I did a whole bunch of stuff, but it like I wouldn't do the stuff that you were supposed to do to be successful. Where like on your day off, call people and like, you know, put in 50 cold calls a day and stuff like that to be successful. And I would do like 5 and then be like, I'm going to take a lunch, you know, like, and I didn't care. And this was the only thing that I knew I could put 100% attention into. So.
Right on. Yeah. It's, everybody's got their own, you know, first time doing it or first, story or whatever. Like I did it once, bombed, didn't do it in for 2 years.
Really?
First time I ever did it, and then started doing it after that 2 years. But it was wild. It was here, but
I think everybody has a horrific funny bone bomb.
Yeah.
First time I ever was on stage here, I was going so bad, and I was getting so nervous. I kept backing up, and I bumped into the sign and almost knocked it off the wall, and went like that, like audibly gasped and just like started shaking. And it was so embarrassing. I was terrified of this place for years after that because of how bad that one night had gone. And I'm 6.5 years into it now, and there's still times where I'm like, oh, okay, Westport.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Loosen up. It's okay. Remember, this is fun. This is fun. But it is, I don't know. I still consider this my home club. But then very shortly after I started, a comedy club in Cape opened up, and I went in there and like begged the owner for a job. I was like, I'll work here. I'll door guy. I'll be your manager. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. I just want a little bit I need stage time. I want to do this. And he let me, which was
that
cool.
was cool. I went down there a few times. That was a cool club.
Yeah.
But
it was something. It was special. Yeah. And then COVID came along.
Yeah.
And,
goddamn COVID.
yeah. Sometimes I think it might have been a bit of a mercy killing. You know what I mean? Like it's sad when Grandpa dies, but sometimes it's time. You know.
Yeah, I hear you. Certain businesses or whatever.
Yeah. COVID was terrible. You know, like, oh, it was terrible. So many good businesses died, but also, we made way for some good new businesses to come out. You know.
Favorite comedians you have, like a top 3?
Oh, that's so hard.
Throwing a lot of tough, broad questions at you today. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I just it's one of those things where it's like when you know, like if I was just thinking about it, I could come up with it. But it's like as soon as someone asks, you're like, ooh,
yeah.
Like if I was like, what's your 3 favorite movies? You'd be like, oh well, shit. How do I whittle it down? When I first started doing comedy, I was really big into like, you know, Norm Macdonald, Dave Attell, Oh, I did.
Both up there.
Both of them right there. Maybe that's why they came to mind first. Maybe subconsciously I saw those. And not that they're not my favorites anymore, but I just like
it shifts a little bit. Yeah.
Chris Porter's Ugly and Angry special.
He's very good.
Was one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen in my entire life. I think I've watched that probably 15 times. And I wish I could go back to the first time I ever saw it, because I mean, just screaming with laughter. I remember like, this is what, this might be a little inappropriate, but have you ever like been laughing so hard you thought you were going to pee and you had to like pinch yourself and be like, I don't know if I'm going to make, like, it was I laughed that hard. And, So yeah, he's up there, but like over time, Dan Soder just makes me laugh. I don't. Big J makes me laugh. And then I really like Nate Bargatze because it's cool that I can watch him with my kids
Mm-hmm.
because when I started doing comedy, they wanted to know like why are you gone all the time, and it was hard for me to be like, especially when they were really young, to be like, well, this is what I'm doing, and then when I found Nate, I was like, oh, this
Mm-hmm.
is this is what I'm trying to do, and then they were like, oh, okay. But it's funny because my daughter's like, yeah, he's funny, but it's funnier when people cuss like that. And I'm like, well, it's also 'cause
All right. Well, here's Dave Attell.
I was like, that's because you're 15. You know what I mean? But
She might be ready for Attell.
oh yeah, I let her watch. So the thing is, like, when my wife's not at home, if it's just the two of us, we'll either watch like an R-rated movie that maybe mom wouldn't approve of, or like a comedy special or whatever. And that's like one of the things we've started doing for bonding, which is cool. But it's always like, I don't remember word for word this special, so
Same with movies, kind of too. If there's an
Yeah.
old movie, you're like, "Oh, this was great," and then you forget a whole scene or like a whatever.
exactly
It doesn't hold
And you're
up.
like, oh,
You're like,
oh,
"Oh,
oh,
shit."
oh. Like I'll never. There's someone in my family is gay, and I sat down one time and we were like, oh, let's watch Talladega Nights, and I was like, oh, cool, that's awesome, and we were watching it. But I forgot, like, a big part of that movie is them making fun of Sacha Baron Cohen for being gay.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And it's still kind of mild, but in the moment, I was just like, oh, like we were both just kind of like awkwardly looking at each other. And then I just felt the need to be like, hey, yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot about that. And they were like, it's okay. Like, you just,
Did it get better at the very end where they kiss? You're like,
Yeah,
well, it's a redemption.
see, look,
Yeah.
it's so weird because it's like, it's not even that. Well, to me, it's not that offensive. You know what I mean, as compared to what it could have been.
Uh-huh.
But it still was like awkward. And when it's your kids, well, my daughter's in high school, so she knows about. When I was in high school, I knew about sex and I knew about all kinds of different stuff, but I didn't want to listen to people talk about it with my mom,
Mhm.
So like when we're watching a Netflix special or something and somebody's talking about getting a blowjob or whatever, you're like, okay, let's just,
Yeah.
he'll move on. It's weird.
Yeah, I hear you. Any comedy advice you've got from another comedian, like when you first started or that you held on to?
Yeah, the best advice I ever got was I've gotten this from like 3 different people, so I can't credit one person. But they said that the 3 things that you need to be successful in comedy, is, and in this order, is be professional, be likable, be funny. So be professional, show up on time, don't dress like a bum, get to know people's names, be just know that people can depend on you. Don't be too drunk, don't be too high, like don't be, just be ready to work, treat it like a job, be likable, be fun to be around, be friendly, don't be a dick, because if people don't like you, they're not going to want to book you. And then third is be funny, because if you are, you show up on time, you dress appropriately, you get to know everybody's names, the drink specials or announcements or whatever, and you're a good person, and then you go up and bomb, you're still going to get another opportunity, because everybody bombs eventually, probably multiple times. But if you're funny, but you never show up on time, you're not dressed appropriately, and you're a dick, well, people aren't going to book you, because they're like, yeah, he does well on stage, but I don't like him, And that's the sad reality, is that it is kind of a popularity thing. Like you need to be someone that people like being around. And
Yeah, that's good advice, man. That's who all did you hear that from? Was there anybody you remember that said it?
Brendan Ayer was a big. He was one that kind of sent that home. There was a guy named he goes by Jack Jr., but his real name is Jack Asadorian. That's not like a secret, so I don't feel guilty sharing that. He said the same thing, and oh gosh, what was
It's
Erica
okay.
Rhodes.
Oh,
Erica
okay.
Rhodes.
Yeah,
she said
she's
the same
awesome.
thing. Yeah, which is so awesome. I feel so. Erica Rhodes came through the comedy club in Cape Girardeau, right? And I was hosting, and I asked her, any credits you want me to say, and she's very, very funny, and she's also very pretty. She's an attractive lady, but I was gonna bring her up and be like, guys, your next comic's super funny. You've seen her, blah blah blah. And when she told me her credit, she goes, hey, but don't say anything about. Don't be like, oh, she's super hot or what. Don't say anything about how I look. And I go, oh, I would never say that about you. And then immediately was like, I mean, not that I don't think that. Like I was like, oh, why did I do that? Like why did I? Oh no, like it's just. And I meant to say like, oh no, I respect you as a comedian. I would only give you comedy credits. But the way it came out was like, no, you toad, like that. And I was like, and I just remember being tongue-tied. So Erica, if you're watching, and we know that you are.
She probably is.
Yeah. Just know that I just respect you, the hell out of you, in the most professional way possible. And I apologize. And I don't know. That's just, I don't know why that popped in my head, but I just felt like,
It happens. I worked with her at Helium, and she was cool as shit, too.
Yeah, so, she's the best.
And Chris Porter, he was awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
So he was scheduled to come through the comedy club in March of 2020. He was supposed to do a weekend at the comedy club in Cape, and
almost
that was
made
like,
it. Yeah,
maybe. I think it was April.
A month,
actually,
probably.
It was April. He was scheduled to come through, and in like mid-March is when everything shut down. I think.
Oh man.
And it was like, I was so. Like that was the saddest part to me, and which sounds terrible because at the time this is when people were dropping like flies and it was like at its height and everybody was scared and nobody knew what to do and it was like, but I was like, but Chris Porter was coming.
Yeah, well, that was good advice, man. I might add a number 4 to that. Wear a cape. But besides that, it's pretty good advice.
Oh, and another piece of information that I got, I worked with George Wallace, and who's kind of like a comedy legend.
Yeah.
He's so funny. So funny.
I've never seen him, but I know he's like been around forever.
Gosh, so funny. Well, I'll tell you advice first. He told me, if you're on stage and you're bombing, slow down. If you're on stage and you're killing, slow down. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, it's not about he's like, just go out there. And if you're having fun, they'll have fun. Just relax and they'll fall.
Yeah.
They'll come with you. But quick story about him is one of the shows I did with him. He was killing so hard. A lady was laughing so hard. She blacked out and fell out of her chair.
Oh shit.
And she was like unresponsive. And so the manager came up and was like, hey, we think this lady died. So like we called an ambulance. They're coming. They're going to take her out, and she gets on a gurney and they like lead her out and stuff like that. And he gets off stage and comes back into the green room. Because one of the things is he headlines, but he closes out his own show. Because I was hosting and he was like, you don't need to come back out.
Oh, okay.
I close my show. I take pictures from stage as people leave. They can go whatever. And he finally comes back in the green room and I was like, hey, I just heard from the manager. I think that lady died. And he goes, yep, that's 7. Like that. And I was like, what? And he goes, when I get to 10, I'm retiring. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then he was like, yep, it's happened twice in Detroit, once in Phoenix. And then he just like listed off all these cities of people that have died during his show.
He's literally a killer.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. She was fine. She just had like a diabetic episode and passed out and she's fine. Yeah, but anyway,
7.5.
So funny when he was like,
That's funny, man. That's crazy that it's that many. Like that. I mean,
yeah,
he could have been joking too, but that's if it's 2, that's a lot.
yeah, right. Like
that's crazy. All right. Well, I got a segment for you.
Okay.
We talked about it. It's called First Draft. So if you got an idea for a bit or something you might have tried once or twice.
Yeah, this is actually something I've never tried before. Tonight was going to be the first time.
Okay.
And it happened. It was a story that it literally happened yesterday. At my son's school, they took like I don't know if it was, I don't want to call it a test or quiz, but they basically were like, hey, find out if you're kind of Republican or Democrat because the elections are coming up, and they just put, they gave out a scenario of, do you think the U.S. should be allowed to torture terrorists? Yes or no? It was just all yes or no questions and stuff like that.
How old is he?
He's in 3rd grade.
It's a little rough.
I was like, whoa, because that was the example he gave me. Because it was like, what questions are there?
Yeah.
But anyway, they took a test to like find out, where you are on the political spectrum, and he was like, my teacher came to me and told me that I was 50-50. I was equally on both sides, and she said. She told me that I am a Dominican Republican, like that. And I just thought that was so, because he meant like Democratic Republican, but he was like, I'm a Dominican Republican. Or no, he said, Dad, my teacher told me that I got a 50-50 on my quiz. That means I'm a perfectly Dominican, or like I'm Dominican Republic or something like that. And I don't know. I was just like, oh, that's weird. I've never seen you cut hair, and
That's pretty funny.
I thought that was, there's something in there. I just don't know.
It's like, I'm pro-abortion, but you're not taking away my guns. He's like, he's 50-50 on
He's like,
everything.
I think we should kill babies with guns. He wants abortions to be done with firearms. He wants.
I guess that's a cool experiment, but that's a little much for 3rd grade.
Yeah,
I think.
I thought so.
That first question was a little rough. Let me run this one by you. I think I did it once, and it got nothing. I kind of led into it with a different joke about an uncle that's not real. So my uncle wasn't a good guy. I remember one time he hit my aunt and gave her a black eye. Before she went into work the next day, she tried to cover it with makeup, but then she got fired for doing blackface. She added insult to an injury.
That's good.
So
I like that.
All right.
I thought that was funny.
Well, thanks, man. I only did it once, but it did not go well at all. I don't know if people didn't get the visual of it or what it was, but it got nothing.
I mean,
because like I picture it as like, she's sitting in her car like doing the makeup, and then she walks in and everybody's like, what the fuck?
yeah.
Because like she's obviously putting to match the eye, but I don't know if that comes across in if it needs something else to maybe. I might try it again, but I don't know.
I like it because it's I like the misdirect of it. I can see why like some crowds would be like, oh, he's talking about domestic abuse, which yeah kinda, but like it's a joke. You know?
I might try it again, but I just
I would try.
I like it, but they hated it, so who knows? That's the first draft, and the idea is like I'll change some things, maybe say it again, and hopefully the second, third draft is better. But I think yours is funny too, man. That's a funny premise, and like
I gotta work out the wording of it, but it's just the way he said it, the way he just
Dominican
was like,
Republican.
Yeah, I'm a Dominican Republic, and it's like, man, are you?
Maybe don't tell everybody that you're, you're like you're white. But yeah, the being on both sides of things too is funny. It was like just because the first question is so like adult,
yeah.
And then just him being so young, just being able to like.
It was weird though, because I remember asking, like, because I asked him, I was like, so what questions were on the quiz? And that was the very first example. He was like, should terrorists be tortured?
Jesus.
And I was like, he was like, I don't think so. And I was like, whatever, traitor. I was like, hook him up to a battery, give him 1,000 volts of freedom. Like, let's pull fingernails. He was like, Dad. I was like, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Kind of.
All right, everybody. Well, that was first draft. We're going to wrap things up here. Where can people find you, your social media, all that kind of stuff?
It's just at ER Comedy on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I have a podcast called The Best with a question mark. Jimmy's been on it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on there. That was a good time.
Yeah.
Make sure you check it out.
Yeah, it's it was a lot of fun. I think we sat down and I had like 6 questions for you, and then we ended up doing like an hour and a half just riffing off fun stuff.
That was fun, man. The only thing was like I watched it again and I'm like, God damn, I got to lose some weight. Because just like every time I look at myself, I'm editing this, I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, you and me both. The first comment I ever got on one of my YouTube videos, like I got a notification. It was like someone commented, and I was like, "Oh, somebody watched the podcast. This is awesome!" And it was just some Indian guy, and he just said "obese," like that. Just like that was it. There was no punctuation. There was no like "you fat slob." It was just obese, and I was like, "All right,
thanks.
Okay,
like
cool.
and subscribe."
Yeah, thanks, thanks, man.
Cool, man. Make sure you check out Eric's podcast. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Eric
This is a lot of
Rueseler,
fun.
everybody. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching Back of the Room and listening. Like and subscribe to this one and Eric's. See you next time.